Hey everybody, it's me, Elias Israel. Hold on. Okay. I wanted to just touch base with you. I'm not going to be looking at you because I am driving, so I'm going to treat you just like a passenger in the car, a little bitty tiny passenger that's on my dashboard. But I wanted to talk to you about yesterday. About yesterday. The thoughts of yesterday. The memories of yesterday. The successes of yesterday. The failures of yesterday. Here's the problem with yesterday. We're living today. And we're trying to move toward a better future. And every time we hold ourselves back to what was, we cannot experience what is, and we cannot go forward to what should be in our future. And I was thinking about this, this little bitty, well, it's a little kitten. And, I got in my vehicle several years back, and I just ran into the vehicle, and I turned the corner, opened the door, got my laptop bag, put it in there, and got the key, started it up because I was running late for work, and I backed out of the driveway. Then I started going forward. As I started going forward about 50 yards, I felt a goo, followed by a secondary goo, and I was like, what is that? I don't remember seeing any potholes, so I checked the rear view mirror, and there in the rear view mirror I saw something that just immediately made me stop the vehicle. What I saw, let's stop, go back 2 months before this. 2 months before that, my cat, Spitter, had kittens. She bore us kittens. And you know, the cats, a lot of times the animals will have a runt of the litter, and like cats are ruthless, man. They just shove them aside and then they're just on their own. Well, I was like, not in my house, this cat won't die. You shall live and not die. And so I got a little syringe from the pharmacy and some little milk, and I fed the little bitty kitten just by hand, like that. Kept that thing alive. I nurtured that relationship. I felt responsible for that relationship for 2 months. And as I'm a big fan of, I allowed the cats to go outside because that's how cats eat, because they're wild animals and should be treated as such, not taken away from their claws and kept inside. And I'm just not a fan of that, but to each their own. And if you want to torture your cat, who has an innate sensibility to take care of itself, you go for that. Whatever you need to make you feel better as a person. But my cats, they like to go outside, and they just, when they're not, they sit at the window. So I have the cat outside, and it liked to play around the wheelbase of my truck. And so what I would do is every morning, knowing that it may be inside there, I would take my laptop bag and I would I'd hit the front of the grill of the truck as I went in front of it, and then it would take off. Or if it didn't take off, I would turn the corner and I would kick the tire like that, underkick it like that with my foot, and then it would take off. If it didn't do that, then I'd get in and I'd honk the horn. It'd take off every morning for 2 months to be responsible for this relationship, to keep this relationship safe, to nurture this relationship. I would and I would and I would every morning. Do you hear what I'm saying? Every morning. Why? Because I wanted to nurture and protect this relationship. But then one morning, 2 months in, I was late for work, and I just ran around the truck, opened the door, put my laptop bag in, put the ignition key in the ignition, started up. I backed out of my driveway. I drove forward about 50 yards, and then I followed by a secondary and I was like, I don't remember seeing any potholes. I wonder what that was. And so I adjusted my rearview mirror to look out of it, and what I saw immediately made me stop the truck. What I saw was the flattest version of that little kitten that I'd ever seen. It was horrible. I felt sick. I pulled over. I was like, I felt sick. Why? Because I knew to do, and I knew to but I didn't do any of those things, and it cost me greatly. It cost the cat even more than it cost me. That cat was a flattened, dead cat. At some point that morning, even though I felt horribly sickened by my actions and my lacking of doing what I knew to do, I was like, man, I said a prayer. You know, I'm with the Christian belief system, so I said a prayer. I don't know if this cat's like Lazarus. It could raise from the dead. Who knows? And I was like, God, if it's your will, if it be thy will, Lord, raise this cat. And nothing happened. I took up a miracle offering with some change, and nothing happened. And so I now was left with this dead cat situation. It's my fault. Something I really did. And so I had to decide what to do. It took me about 3 minutes to decide. I started the vehicle back up. I put it in drive, and I drove on to work. I know what some of you are thinking right now. How dare you? How could you? That was your fault, your responsibility. How could you just leave that there? Let me ask you something. If today, years later, I had with me right now in this bag, in my laptop bag, a tail sticking out of here of the dead cat from back then, because I couldn't leave that dead cat behind, because it was my responsibility, because it was my fault. I had to go back and get that cat and take that cat with me everywhere I went. That would seem strange to you, to see me years later carrying around a dead cat. Yet, we think it's completely normal for us to take the dead cat issues of our past and bring them into our current and carry them into our future. And it affects everything that we do. It affects whether people want to be around you. Why? Because the dead cat shows up. It is weird for you to carry around a dead cat. It stinks. Its presence is awkward and weird, and some of you have dead cats in our relationships, and we can't leave them behind. We have to keep going back. Why? Because it was my fault. Even when it's your fault. Why? Because it was your fault. Why? Because it was their fault. We keep going back, and we keep carrying that thing, and that becomes the thing that we bear and we carry, and we feel like we can't move forward, because especially when it's our own fault. But when in other times we carry around these dead cat issues, and the dead cats will hinder where we are right now, the relationships we have, the opportunities we're able to walk into with freedom or with bondage. Every aspect of our life is hindered by the things that we try to carry from our past into our present and going into our future. It's time we leave the dead cats. It's time we leave the dead cats. Does that mean we continue the behavior and activity that caused those cats to not survive anymore, that caused death in those situations? Does that mean we leave those things like they were? No, we make the adjustments along the way to change those things and better ourselves, but we move forward. Today, my friend, listen, I don't know what you're carrying with you, but if it's a dead cat from the past, let it go. Move forward. Be a better person. Don't kill cats anymore, but it's time to move on. All right, rock on. Love you guys. Elias Israel out.